Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit as Abby here, back again with House of the Dragon Season 1. We are on episode 5, and in the last episode, it was an episode I kind of think was revolving mainly around Rhaenyra's sort of rebellious nature, which I'm kind of calling it. It's something that she has in common with Daemon, and I think Daemon he saw that within her. And essentially his plan, whatever his plan was, I mean, it's hard to read Daemon exactly what he was thinking. There was something that I noticed when I was editing last episode, which was before they enter the brothel, Daemon takes off Rhaenyra's hat and gives it like just this like person who was in there. And now I mean, I've never heard of anything like of there being like a custom to having a hat, you know, I mean, be removed or anything like that, but it almost felt to me as almost as if, like, I don't know, if Daemon was purposefully wanting to be, like, he wanted Rhaenyra to be seen with Daemon in that moment on purpose, because this is the thing, like, I don't know how far Daemon went, like, I don't know if his penis entered or not, but I wonder if he was, the one thing he wanted to do was just make it seem like something did actually happen, and that was his whole plan in its entirety. Because the thing is that he never, like when he came before Viserys, he just admitted it straight out. So it just makes me wonder, like, his whole plan was for this to happen. I don't know, man. I don't know how deep, really, like, Daemon thinks he can go into. Like, I don't know what his whole plan. I mean, we believe that his whole thing is to have the throne, right? And in order to do that, I guess really he would have to wed Rhaenyra. And so, if the thought from Viserys is that, well, that's Rhaenyra sullied, so no other lord will take her now. Like, I wonder if Daemon was thinking that it would force Viserys' hand to just do what Daemon wanted to do. Because Daemon also wants to, like, bring back the whole Targaryen, like, what it was, like, back in its heyday. Or at least, like, you know, when, you know, Aegon at least conquered and everything, where, you know, they can take multiple wives and, you know, they can, you know, do what they want with each other incestually and it not be a problem. And just basically rule with kind of an iron fist, like it being a case of, like, it doesn't matter what the people think, this is like whatever we say goes kind of thing. So I don't know, it's interesting with Daemon, also because Rhaenyra got blue-balled, so to speak. She ended up sort of bringing Kristen into the fold, and now they are, or at least they have, you know, consummated, not a marriage, but you know what I mean. They've fornicated. Actually, they went the full hog, and so I don't know. I worry for Kristen right now, because, you know, consequences in this world are not favourable to those who are generally considered good people in this world, and I feel like Kristen is at the top of that list. So I worry for him, man. And at the end, Otto lost his hand of the king. Basically, it was an ultimatum almost made by Rhaenyra to Viserys that, like, okay, I'll do my duty and wed Laenor, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. But in exchange, Viserys has to basically remove Otto from, you know, the council and from the hand of the king position. And yeah, man. So it's going to be interesting going forward. We'll have to see what happens, and yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about, so I think we're just going to get straight into episode 5. So as always, the reaction will be here on YouTube, but if for whatever reason it gets taken off for copyright in the future, I'll re-upload this as a discussion only, and a link to the reaction will be in the description below. As always, a link to the full-length reaction to this episode is in the description below as well. So if you do want to watch my episode reaction in full, then the offer's down there for you. And there's also the early access reaction as well. So if you want to get my reaction to the next episode immediately and not have to wait a week, then, you know, that offer is there for you as well. But yeah, nothing else really to talk about, so we are going to get in episode 5 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go.
What's today's quarry? Rabbit?
Dear.
Oh, Rhea. This is Damon's wife, right? I mean, it looks like the veil, because the veil's very, yeah, very like craggy and mountainous, right?
Husband? Or have you at last come to consummate our marriage?
Oh shit! Oh fucking hell! Is she paralyzed from that? That sucks. Jesus Christ, Damon.
I knew you couldn't finish.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Damon. Oh my god, that is dark. Otto.
A moment. I do not wish to see you go.
He's leaving entirely. I guess.
Such is the king's decision. You chose Rhaenyra.
And I believed her.
You wanted to believe her, as did her father.
If you had not been so relentless in advancing Aegon as heir.
The king will die. It may be months or years, but he'll not live to be an old man. And if Rhaenyra succeeds him, war will follow, do you understand? To secure her claim, she'll have to put your children to the sword. You fool, and yet you choose not to see it. Either you prepare Aegon to rule, or you cleave to Rhaenyra and pray for her mercy.
I wonder if this is the last we'll see of him. I hope not, because I really like Rhys Ifans. Where is this then? I'm guessing this must be Driftmark, because this guy.
Baileys. Rare bloom. When one is never invited to speak, one learns instead to observe.
Oh, observe. Yeah, see, I knew this guy.
Perhaps in need of an ally. I did wonder if she could be relied upon now that she is unwell. It's just that on the very same night your father was dismissed, the Grand Maester delivered a tea to the princess's chambers.
Right. Playing the game a
The Grand
bit.
Maester himself brought.
At the direction of the king, as I understand it. That condition must be something very serious. What happiness it is
This
to
guy.
have been wrong.
Playing the game.
Your Grace.
It's quite a throne. Looks like the hull of a ship. I wouldn't be surprised, because he's the whole ship guy, isn't he? So.
I can think of no man more suited to be the hand of the king.
That is very kind of you to say, Lord Corlys.
Yeah, Lionel and Corlys always
Pity of
agreed
Sir Otto.
with each other, didn't they?
The Lady Rhea Royce has passed.
A hunting mishap.
I wish to propose a marriage between your son, Selena, and my daughter and heir, the Princess Rhaenyra.
Fix this
There are
relationship.
certain details I would wish clarified before the Princess Rhaenys and I could accept this most generous proposal.
Rhaenyra is my heir. Upon my death, my throne and my titles will pass to her.
Their children would take their father's name.
You are not proposing the Targaryen dynasty end with my daughter. Selena and Rhaenyra's children shall take their father's name. However, at such time when their firstborn ascends the Iron Throne, he or she will do so bearing the name Targaryen.
This is an equitable compromise.
And what do you propose?
That we perform our duty to our fathers and to the realm. And when it's done, each of us dines as we see fit.
So they'll go through with a marriage, but there'll be no they can basically do what they want.
I'm sure Lena was already taken with her.
Do you know his true nature?
He will outgrow it. No pleasure in the world like bedding a woman.
We are placing our son in danger.
Your betrothed gives you leave
He's gay.
of her own free will to continue.
I thought it was like something was afoot when Corlys was. They were talking about his exploits, and then said that he'll come about, he'll grow, because there's nothing like bedding a woman. So
I've heard you say so many times how you loathe the lot of your position. That you are to be married off at your father's whim with no thought given to the yearning of your own heart. And now the day comes. I have deep knowledge of the port at Sunspear, where I've seen the ships of Essos setting sail with their holds full of oranges and cinnamon, and I've always wished to see where they went.
he wants them to leave to Essos.
We will be nameless and free. Free to go where we like, to love as we like.
It's interesting because Rhaenyra would have always wanted that, you know?
I am the crown, Sir Kristen. It is my duty to marry a nobleman from a great house. Sir Kristen, Laenor and I have an understanding.
I don't know if he's happy.
So you want me to be your whore? As a knight of your king's guard. An oath of chastity. I've broken it. I've soiled my white cloak. It is the only thing I have to my fucking name.
My father received an accounting of a lapse of morals.
This is going to make things worse.
May have occurred.
Because he literally saw her come through the front door, so he knows that she didn't leave.
I have committed it.
Oh, he's talking about him.
Oath has been broken. I have dishonored myself. I deserve no consideration.
Fucking hell, man.
Rather than gelding me and having me tortured, you would sentence me mercifully to death.
I said that.
Let me go.
Oh, alright, okay. Sure, I'm just going to allow it, okay. Okay, good. Okay, wait, we're fine for now. He looks horrendous.
Will I be remembered as a good king, Lionel? I have neither fought nor conquered.
You have carried King Jaehaerys' legacy and kept the realm strong.
There is a part of me wishes I'd been tested. It is perhaps best not to know.
No, it isn't. Yeah, okay. I just heard like little squeals and assumed that it was. Otto, not. I'm guessing not going to show up.
If this is only the welcome feast, I admit I cannot imagine what you might have planned for the wedding.
Oh, my daughter is the future queen.
Where is the queen? I had hoped to pay my respects.
I understand the queen is still readying herself for the celebrations.
That's the guy from the beginning.
As a guest, Sir Gerald. I must say, I was most distressed to hear of the Lady Rhea's tragic passing.
Lord Corlys of House Velaryon, Lord of the Tides, Master of Driftmark, their son and heir, Selena Velaryon, the future King Consort.
Quite the entrance.
My betrothed.
My betrothed.
Oh shit. What's he doing back here? I thought he was like, almost like banished from this place, like.
Honor, the crown's oldest and fiercest ally, House Velaryon, with House Targaryen and
Who's it? Who's this now? Oh, it's the Queen. I like the music.
The king will not be happy, right in the midst of his speech.
Yeah.
The beacon on the high tower. Do you know what color it glows when Old Town calls its banners to war?
Green.
Oh, she's wearing Hightower colours. She mustn't be happy with the fact that, yeah, because her dad got dismissed, right? There's a lot of... It's always a fucking wedding, isn't there? There's always has to be tension. And there's a lot here. There's a lot.
7 days,
Quaint.
tournament, and feasting.
Yeah!
I was never much of a dancer.
It's not much different to combat.
I shall hope for a different outcome.
It just feels like he's up to something, you know?
I worried that, given leave of your father's shadow, you might wither in King's Landing's sun. But you stood tall.
Tall like a high
Old
tower.
Town stands with you.
Targaryens.
Sir Gerald knows.
Who are you?
Sir Gerald Royce.
It was no accident.
Are you confessing some guilt, Sir Gerald?
I am making an accusation.
Jesus, he's not standing down,
In
man.
King's Landing, men are made to answer for their slanders. I wish to speak to you about my inheritance.
What inheritance?
Lady Rhea and I had no heirs. As her husband, whatever she was due now passes to me.
He gets runestone. Oh my god. Fucking hell, what is going on, man?
Has anybody ever told you you're nearly as pretty as your brother?
Well, you flatter me, my prince.
Sir Kristen Cole.
A sworn protector.
A dashing knight and a dragon rider. You appear to be every young maiden's dream. Perhaps that is something we might remedy, my prince.
Perhaps it is.
There's so much going on, and so much being added.
They make a handsome match, don't they?
Oh man, fuck. So he wants to get acquainted with it, with Kristen now.
But we are both deeply invested in this union. Sir Lena is quite dear to me. As I know, the princess is to you. But we should swear to each other to guard them and their secrets.
It's a bit fucking threatening, wasn't it? Like, his secret's been given out to the Queen, right? And the Queen let him go and everything like that. And now all of a sudden he's got this guy that he doesn't know coming up to him. Oh, Jesus Christ, what now? Viserys doesn't want to see this.
Idinon de Mario sut vetila meri isa ruben. Nikese dintok stor un aledra aderio isa. Silavo se zandumi wixa. Zadris dorot unumakas, sia brasilis ohis, sagon unat sahas.
I mean, there's shit going on. What happened? What happened? Alright, where the fuck's Daemon? Where's Daemon? I don't even see him. What the fuck? Where's... Did she get taken? What the hell? Holy fuck, Kristen! What are you doing? Holy fucking hell! He's... Holy shit! And I don't see Daemon anywhere. Holy shit! Fucking hell. Oh god, no! Oh, there she is! Jesus Christ! Oh my god! It caved his fucking skull in. Jesus, he actually done him in.
To join two souls as one.
Oh wow, well, they're just doing the wedding.
I'm yours, and you're mine.
Lenore of House Velaryon.
Oh, he's not going to commit.
Of House Targaryen.
He's not going to commit seppuku, man, is he? I don't want to.
Sir Kristen.
Alicent, please, yeah, don't stop him from doing it. Stop him from doing this. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, God. And the rats come to feast on their corpses. Okay. Okay, episode 5. Wow. I think that was probably... I think that was the best episode yet, I think. Just for the sheer tension at the end. The fact that there is so many... I don't know, like how to explain it. It's like one of those sort of like whiteboards where, you know, like if like detectives or whatnot, they're trying to figure out. It's like that fucking meme from that one show that I can never remember the name of, where the guy's like, and he's like basically trying to solve this like theory thing, and he's got like red lines to like different things. Like there's so many like threads between different characters that just made that last scene so like tension, like it was just packed. It was so palpable. I mean, the fact is like where things go from here is really interesting, because I feel like we are about to go into territory that the show hasn't gone into yet. I know there's been like slight spiffs between characters, but there hasn't been anything like truly like hard-hitting stuff, you know, where like people legitimately want people dead. And seemingly that might end with Viserys' reign, unfortunately, because that would just add to the tragedy of his sort of his character and his reign, you know, that wanting to just carry on that sort of peace that came with Jaehaerys, right? Because Jaehaerys was known as like the best king, like out of the lot of them. Like it was just entirely peaceful, and everyone was like happy with what was going on. So to follow that is tough. And there's like a scene where it's the moment where Viserys like looks the worst in like so far, where he's you know, he's like laying down, and you know his arm looks totally fucked, and he's like sweating, and he just looks totally like out of it, but also like he's aware in what is happening to him. I feel like that's why he's coming out with, you know, you know, like, will I, like, did I do enough? Will I be remembered? He just feels like he wasn't tested and stuff like that. It's like, it feels like he knows that the time is coming, like, very soon. He looks like he knows. So, yeah. I think we'll just have to get all of that out of the way, like all of the major event at the end, because that's the stuff that's most interesting. And when you think about all of the threads that I was talking about, I mean, this could take a while to get through, but you've got, sorry for the coughing and everything like that, I've literally had to stop recording, get something to eat, and then immediately come back to do this, so that probably doesn't help. Fizzy pop. But, you know, we move. So you have not the official wedding, or what's not even supposed to be that. The fact that they even had it at the end means that they've just called off the whole tourney and everything like that because of what transpired at this little event. So this was meant to be the start of a week of tournaments and feasting and everything like that, and then it would end with the royal wedding. But it didn't even get past one night. And it was building up directly from the end of last episode. Obviously, like, we're talking about how, you know, I was talking about in last episode how I thought Rhaenyra not understanding the consequences of her actions. I feel like this is it unraveling now. Like, this is down to her, really. I know Daemon played his part, but all of this is like led to Kristen like snapping in a way. She was the one that, like, you know, brought him in, basically made him fall in love with her, kind of thing, and then hoping that he could sort of restore this honor that he had by, you know, marrying her and everything. And the fact that, like, Rhaenyra was wishing for that freedom, like, that's the thing that she always wanted, but then she's got this whole tie-in with, you know, being the heir and whatnot, that she wants that as well. It's like she wants the best of both worlds, but, like, she refuses to acknowledge that she can have both. Like, that's not how it works, you know. So yeah, I mean, we've got the whole thing in this episode where they go to Driftmark or High Tide. I don't know in which sort of... I don't know if just the area that it's in is called High Tide and the castle itself is called Driftmark, or the other way around. But they went there. The marriage was basically set in stone from that point. They were fine with it because, you know, they were like, yeah, we'll just do this as a formal political thing. But then we just do our own thing that we, you know, and let's just accept that. And they do. And they're absolutely on board with it. Because, I mean, that's just like the best thing that you could actually offer, especially from them two, which obviously have their own little things going on the side. And that basically, in turn, sort of forces Kristen into a set, like, you know, where he's like, you know, I mean, he doesn't want this to happen. Like, he's clearly in love with Rhaenyra, so he offers that, you know, they go off, you know, to Essos together and whatnot, and they can get married over there and just live free, different names, everything, and it won't matter, and you can just live without the burden of the crown and everything. And then Rhaenyra, you know, I won't totally, like, bash Rhaenyra for, like, you know, the fact is that she was talking about how, you know, Aegon and everything like that, so clearly she has taken on board seriously the whole thing that Viserys was, you know, getting through to her, like the burden of this knowledge, like, you can't just run away from this thing now, like, I've entrusted you to do it. So, you know, fair play on her part for sticking with that, but it does put in, like, that, it does put them in that, like, sort of that predicament that goes against what Rhaenyra wants, but what she has to do, and all that, you know, duty and everything. But it puts Kristen in a place where, like, this is something he doesn't want to do, you know what I mean? Like, I did like his, I I think his name's Fabian, the actor. I did like his acting there. Like basically when he comes out and he says that, you know what I mean, like I broke my oath. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I broke my oath for this, you know what I mean? That's all I fucking had. Like, I built myself up for that. And to get into a place where he was, considering he was like a commoner, is huge. That's a big deal. And so, you know, it just doesn't ring true with him. And that, in turn, well, Alicent obviously brings him in to talk about Daemon. But before it even gets to that point, he thinks it's about him, because obviously he had no idea about the whole Daemon situation. Clearly the rumour or anything hasn't reached his ears. So it's like he just outs himself as like kind of the one thing that he obviously had in his life was that honour, right? And then once the whole thing happened with Rhaenyra, like that kind of love kind of blossomed, and that was something that overtook his honour, right? And then because that love can't be recognised in, you know, the what you would consider the proper way, he just outs himself to the Queen to restore what any honor he has left, and to give his life essentially for, like, you know, to at least gain that back, so that his life like meant something and didn't end up as nothing. Alicent, being who she is, you know what I mean, she's like a really, really good woman. She lets him go, but obviously she has that knowledge now. And then so go ahead to, you know, well, basically, actually, we'll go back to the very beginning where Daemon goes back to the Vale and meets with his wife. So we meet like Rhea, and we say goodbye to her in not a very, very short amount of time, because Daemon shows up, kills her, in a way that, like, I don't know what he did to spook the horse. I think the way that he was looking, and I don't know if it was shot weirdly or not, or I'm just like not remembering it properly, but the way that he was like looking up, I think that's what was happening. Like, he was looking up, almost knowing that Rhea would be like, oh wait a minute, he's not alone, thinking that, I don't know, he's dragons up there, and that it would obviously force her to get out the her weapon, and that's what shook the horse, forcing the horse up on its hind legs and back over, paralyzing her seemingly. I'm guessing that's what it meant when the fact that he was standing on her arm and like nothing, like she wasn't moving. So he literally paralyzed her with that. That sucks. And she just had to literally, because that's the thing, like, I imagine she couldn't feel anything except for probably her head. And so she basically just had to just, she couldn't do anything. She had to just basically wait for Daemon to just, I mean, that was dark. That's dark, man. I mean, that's hands down the worst thing he's done. You know, like other stuff. I mean, what other stuff is he genuinely done that you can be like, that is evil? You know what I mean? That was horrendous. So you've got that and the whole Sir Gerald aspect. Okay, so obviously he turns up at the wedding, so you've got them two. Daemon obviously showing up, like, clearly uninvited, but because Viserys doesn't want to make a scene, pulls a pew up for him, and so he's sitting there. So you've got them two. You've got Alicent and the whole Otto situation. She's not fucking happy with Viserys or Rhaenyra for letting that happen, so she comes out with a badass entrance in Hightower colours, which I didn't recognise at first, so I'm glad that they actually pointed it out, that like she's not playing around. Like it's almost like a and you could almost see like the way Viserys was looking, and I don't know if it was just a case of like, well, you've just interrupted my speech, or that she, but I don't know, like I felt like the acting was spot on. You could almost tell that Viserys knew what it meant, you know what I mean? Because you're talking about like in them, like in that world, and you know, even back in them days and whatnot, like heraldry and like colours and things like that, like they mattered to like what your allegiance lies to and whatnot. So you could tell like that's clearly the High Tower colour, her coming out specifically in that to just like basically say like, you know what I mean, I do not accept what you've done. I mean that was badass. So you've got Alicent really not happy with what happened with them. So you've got them at odds. God, you've obviously got, you know, Daemon and Rhaenyra. So there's that. And then later on in the sort of like the dance and whatnot, you've got Daemon and Lena, having some weird thing going on. It's mad, man. And then you've got Joffrey, who is obviously Leonor's, we'll call him a side piece now. well, I mean, he's nothing now, is he? But like he decides that he wants to seek out who is like Rhaenyra's sort of side piece, and he manages to do that. Goes over and, I mean, first of all, he tells Laenor, so Laenor knows. Then he goes over and confronts Kristen about it. The thing is about Joffrey is that I felt like the way that he was acting, like he almost feels like a bit of a, you know what I mean, like he tries to play it on a bit much, like, you know what I mean, he's very, what's the word, I don't know, like he likes to stir the pot almost a bit, you know what I mean, like he's kind of like that. Like I don't feel like there was any reason for him to go and confront Kristen about the whole thing, you know. But if it was a case of like he was doing it just as sort of protection of Laenor or whatnot, I guess, you know, but yeah. So I mean, you've got that, and then I think is that it. I mean, Hobart Hightower, he basically, you know, because obviously Alicent goes to speak to him, he says that Old Town stands with you. So when it finally comes to a succession, I feel like at the very least Old Town as a whole will be totally against it. I know obviously that they said like essentially the realm will be against the whole thing, which they probably will, but it's kind of almost confirmation, you know, that like depending on what circumstances happen, we could be looking at a situation of like rebellion and whatnot very soon. Because if this is like the end of Viserys, then obviously the succession is happening like almost immediately. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting. So you have all of these different threads of different characters and their, like, you know, their relationships and whatnot. I think the storytelling's really, really, really well done there. I think the character development of like all of these characters and all of them linking with each other is very well done. So the nail in the coffin is essentially Joffrey going to confront Kristen about the whole thing and letting him know that he's in on it as well. I was talking about it before shit went down that like, yeah, like the secret, like once I mean the secret was just between him and Rhaenyra, for Christ's sake. And then the whole Alicent thing, wanting to talk about Daemon, he outed himself, okay? So he outed himself, that secret, strictly with Alicent. The fact that Alicent let him go almost can give Kristen a sense of like, right, well, she's not going to let it out. If she let me go, then she's not going to let it out after the fact, is she? So there's still, you know what I mean, something to hold on to there. But it's like that's something that can niggle away at him, right? And then the nail in the coffin is that now Joffrey knows and Laenor knows, and it's like the more people that know about this, the easier that this can just get out, right? And you've got to think like Kristen's got to be thinking, fucking, what is going on here? Like, this is bad. Like, this can end up really bad. You know, because at least with Alicent, he can basically say, like, you know, he can have like that one-on-one conversation with Alicent and just be like, you know, can you put me to death, you know, in the easiest way possible, as opposed to torture and whatnot. But if this gets outed and almost like they have to put on like a public showing, you know what I mean, like that can be, you know what I mean. So I can only imagine what Kristen's thinking, and he goes and puts matters into his own hands and does in Joffrey to the point of like literally caving his skull in. And I don't know if like if there was something beforehand, because shit just started going on, right? Like, you had Daemon, who was obviously talking with Rhaenyra and whatnot, and Viserys was looking on, and then you have, like, you know, Daemon being quite pushy, and he grabs her like this, and they're like this far away from each other, and then shit, like, you know, people start getting in the way, and then all of a sudden it's kicking off, and you don't see what's happening until, like, you know, the last fucking 10 seconds or whatever. But there's just chaos in the middle where, like, no one knows what's going on. So I don't know, something could have started it. I don't know if it was literally just Kristen coming in and fucking just wailing on him. I don't know if that's how it started, but he punched Leonor. He literally struck him. His future king consort. So it's like, what will that have? I mean, this is the thing. Leonor saw what was happening. He's not going to be happy with Kristen at all. Kristen went to commit seppuku. Alicent turned up, seemingly to stop him. It is going to be interesting, though, what Alicent does, because Alicent now has, I don't know if it's too much to say, she has a vendetta against, like, you know, Rhaenyra or whatever, but, like, having Kristen possibly on side of the Queen, I don't know, man. Like, it just feels like it could be, like, it's going to be interesting dynamics of if that is the case, you know. And I wonder just, like, what role. I mean, this is the thing, it's like, because if you have these two things, so this is the thing, if Viserys goes, right, immediately you're in this whole situation where Alicent could, and I'm feeling she probably will, back her children over Rhaenyra, because there was that whole conversation at the start with Otto, right? Otto was like, you know what I mean, you've almost put yourself in this situation by believing Rhaenyra when she shouldn't have been believed. And it's going to get to a point where the realm, and you know it yourself, that it's going to go into chaos, and they're not going to want Rhaenyra on the throne. They're going to want Aegon, and that's your own children. And it's going to come to a head where a choice is going to have to be made, and it's going to be bad. So, I mean, you could be looking at something really back and forth going here. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, I feel like the show's about to kick into gear to a place that it hasn't been before, where, like, it's legitimately, like, people against people. Like, it's not just the Stepstones war. It's characters that we know going against each other. I think it was put up into a, like, I think it was set up by Rhaenys earlier in the episode. I mean, she was literally talking about how, like, we're putting our son in danger, right? Now, that danger's already been almost seen firsthand. Like, they've literally just come into contact at King's Landing and shit's already kicking off, right? I mean, that is going to be like 100-fold when the succession starts, you know? So, I mean, this is where I don't know which side of the fence. I don't know, man. It's just going to be like, because Rhaenys will obviously probably have words with Rhaenyra again, basically saying, "I told you so. This is what was going to happen." So yeah, I think this is where like the series really kicks into gear. Like I've really enjoyed the setup and everything in the past episodes, but this is the one where I just feel like it's the catalyst episode, you know, which is right why I think it's my favorite episode so far. There was an interesting little thing as well, like a little. So when the first dance started, obviously it was between Rhaenyra and Laenor. They actually said, like, I don't do much dancing, and Leonor's like, it's pretty much the same as combat, right? And then Rhaenyra said, like, well, I hope for a different outcome. And it's funny that, like, during the dance, the outcome ended in death. So Laenor was right. Dancing and combat, the same, right? Very similar, because it just ended in death. I just thought that was an interesting little sort of throw-in line. It's like, this is what's to come, by the way. The outcome will be like it is combat. God. Yeah, I thought the Valerian, sorry, I keep it was Valeria. And they talk about Valerian as like that, you know, what they would call themselves. But it's really hard to sort of go back and forth with how they're, because obviously the pronunciation's different, but they're like the Valarians versus them being Valerian. It's like but their entrance was sick, you know what I mean, because they just interrupted a whole thing as well and just come in, and the booming voice of like introducing them as well coming in, I thought that was a cool entrance. And then obviously, yeah, you've got Sir Gerald who confronts Daemon during the whole thing. Daemon's just giving no shits. Like, he doesn't care. I just feel like Daemon's like... There was some, like... I can't remember the exact quote, but there was something Viserys said last episode, before he like sort of like banished them back to the Vale and whatnot. He said like, you've been put on this earth to ruin me or something like that, right? And I almost feel like that is exactly what his character is. Like, you've got everything in place. Like, just imagine everything without Daemon, right? And then just imagine whoever the god of, you know, this universe is, like George R.R. Martin, right? He just goes, boop, and I'll just put I'll put Daemon in there to just mess things up a bit. I feel like that's basically what Daemon is. So he's he's an interesting character where he's almost just there to just fuck shit up, and I just kind of love it. You know. So yeah, he doesn't care, and he's like, oh, I'm glad you're here actually, so we can talk about our inheritance. So he's looking to inherit Runestone, like just getting shit. You know what I mean? Like, he just takes shit almost, Daemon. And I thought for a second when it all kicked off that Daemon actually literally just snatched Rhaenyra. I mean, Rhaenyra was literally talking about it, like, just take me then. And then shit started kicking off. And I think that's another genius part of this episode, is because of how it was shot, it almost looked like Daemon had just snatched her and fucked off. Because you didn't see Daemon for the rest of that whole kerfuffle. And it was actually the... Oh, what was his name, man? I don't know if I got it written down, because I did write down Larys Strong, who's the disabled one, right? Who I was right about. I knew he was like a listener, an observer, and a player of the game. But who's his other... who's his other son? Because he's like known as like this, like the strongest dude, right? Isn't he? I don't think I wrote down his name. Damn it. Because I really actually enjoyed him coming in and just being like, yeah, right. Just moving people out of the way, grabs Rhaenyra and just gets her to safety, you know what I mean? I really actually enjoyed just that little snippet of him that we got, because in just one little, it was barely even a scene, just like some frames, a few frames of him just basically pushing people out the way just tells you exactly what he's all about. So yeah, that was really cool. I mean, speaking of Strong's, Lord Strong, Lionel, he's now the Hand of the King, so he's been put in that place. Going on to Laris, yeah, like I said, he was exactly who I thought he was going to be. That, like, because he doesn't have the, you know, he wasn't fortunate enough with his body to, you know, be a warrior or anything like that, that he has the strength of the mind. And it's very similar to Tyrion, isn't it? In that regard, you know what I mean? He has, forgive the pun, like, shortcomings, but you know what I mean, because of that, like, he's strengthened his mind to the point where, like, he can outwit anybody. So in a similar sort of vein, Laris Strong is exactly the same. And I mean, immediately you see him playing the game, like, talking about, you know, letting stuff just slip, you know what I mean, like saying stuff on the light, like, oh, she's like, now that she's unwell, and Alicent's like, what do you mean unwell? And he's like, well, there was some tea delivered, you know what I mean, some like herbal tea delivered by the Maester or whatnot. And you know what I mean, it's just planting those little things where, like, in Alicent's head, of what does that actually mean? Does it almost as if Laris Strong wants Alicent to basically know that Rhaenyra lied to her, and almost put. This makes me think that I wonder, like, you can't really trust Lionel Strong either. That he's also, if he's got his son doing it, and his son isn't, like, doing his own thing, that if he wants to pit Alicent against Rhaenyra, so that the whole Aegon, like, so Aegon can essentially ascend the throne instead of Rhaenyra, I wouldn't be surprised, put it that way. And of course, when she had her entrance at the ceremony at the end, it immediately panned over to, you know, to Laris Strong and a friend talking about the whole thing. So he knows what he's letting on, what he isn't, and yeah, he's definitely playing the game. But I think that goes back to what, again, last episode, Viserys and Rhaenyra talking about how everyone is self-interested at the small council, and lords and ladies, and everyone is self-interested. So of course Lionel Strong is going to be self-interested as well. Friggin' hell. So what else? Jesus, there's so much in this episode, man. Yeah, I wonder if this is the thing, right? So again, the end of last episode, when Otto gets relieved of his Hand of the King, Viserys goes on about how Jaehaerys was fit as a fiddle, and then 5 days later he's gone. Quick turnover. Balon died of a burst belly, and now we have Viserys, who is definitely not in a good way and not going naturally. I've talked about the poison thing. I just find it interesting that Otto, at the beginning, when he's talking with Alicent, that, you know, Viserys, whether he lives months or years, won't live till old age. So he knows something. Now, I don't know if it's just because, you know, he has this connection with the Maester, and the Maester obviously has been treating Viserys' wounds for a long time now, knowing that there's nothing they can do but just relieve it for a bit, or maybe postpone it, like the inevitable. I don't know, but I just wonder if it does seem interesting that with Otto being around, you have basically the Targaryens who are all going before their time. It is a bit interesting. All for self-interest and whatnot. I don't know, but it is interesting little seeds, and I do like the way that you know, it's being told. And yeah, I don't know if that's the last we'll see of Rhys Ifans. It probably is. Almost the send-off almost said it that way. Though if Viserys does go, it does line up Otto to possibly come back into the picture somehow or some way. I don't know, but because I don't know, it could be up to the Queen. But Rhaenyra also wanted him sent away. But if it comes to a head and them two, like Alicent and Rhaenyra are at each other, then it possibly can give way for Otto to re-enter the whole thing. But we'll see. I liked the whole the Driftmark looked incredible, by the way. If that's the castle name, or High Tide, whatever it's called. And I did like that scene between Viserys and Corlys, and basically them talking about the marriage and what that entails for the succession and whatnot going forward. That they will bear the name Velaryon of birth, but as soon as the succession happens and he gets to the throne, he will be a Targaryen, and he'll be known as a Targaryen. I did like that whole meeting between them. What else? I think that is pretty much, like, I think I've got everything. I thought it was interesting that Joffrey was known as, like, people called him the Knight of Kisses for some reason. I don't know if that happens, like, I don't know if that is, like, if that means anything, you know what I mean? Like, if he's just, like, a very lovable guy, you know what I mean? Or what, but who knows? Maybe, like, because he likes to get close to people. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know, man. I just think there's definitely interesting seeds placed. I'm very interested to see what the whole Daemon and Laena thing's about, because I don't know if Laena's just, like, sweet on him, you know what I mean? Because he's a good-looking bloke. I don't know, you know. I don't know if she's heard rumours, like the rumours and everything like that. I don't know. Maybe she just likes his style, you know what I mean? The fact that he just comes in, doesn't give a fuck. I don't know, man. But, like, clearly something is seeded there that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Daemon's having a go with Laena in later episodes. Put it that way. Because that was just, like, an out-of-the-blue one. Like, we've never seen them interact, look at each other. I mean, I feel like the only time they were ever in the same area was the tournament in season 1. She was obviously up in the stands and he was competing. You know what I mean? So I don't know where I don't know, like, where that's just come in. It's just interesting because it's just coming out of nowhere. So I don't know. I think that one's an interesting little seeded thing that obviously will pay off later. If it doesn't, then what the fuck was the point? So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I think I've got everything covered. It's definitely interesting. I mean, going forward, we have the whole thing with Daemon going back to speak with, I think he said Lady Jane or something. I think that was what it was, to basically talk about the inheritance and getting it, and that, you know, I'll probably see you there, Sir Gerald. So there's obviously going to be more head-to-head with them, I imagine. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, yeah, that is all I've got. So an absolutely amazing episode. Can't wait for the next one. It shouldn't be... well, it'll be a week, right? When that one next comes out. If you do want to get access to that reaction right now, though, you can do with the link down in the description below. And of course, as always, the full-length reactions to all of the shows I do, you know, the associated episode of this, you know, will be the full length down there. That's in every episode that I do, every video. So that is all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.